Hey guys, I'm Erica with ShameOver and welcome back. I know that you know that my whole motto is lose the hangover, not the booze. And today we are diving deep into just that, an incredible app that I personally use myself um, in the early days, but can absolutely vouch for it, that is really helping you to understand your drinking patterns. So you're not just white knuckling it and falling into the all or nothing thinking that most of us hate and just doesn't work for us. So today I am sitting down with Ian Andersen, co-founder of Sunnyside, the mindful drinking app that I mentioned. So I can't wait to get started. So Ian, feel free to introduce yourself. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Erica. I'm really excited to be here and want to thank you for being on our Journey to the Sunnyside podcast last week. I think we launched it.
Yes.
Our members, our listeners loved it. So thank you for being part of that.
Oh,
Really
good.
cool.
It was
Really cool
such a
that we
great
get to,
interview.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mike's the best.
you did.
So
Yep.
yeah, thanks for the intro. Let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Yes.
I grew up in a family that was really impacted by alcohol. But even before I was born, it went back to the generation before. And so what I've learned out of kind of pulling this out of the family history is that effectively two of my grandparents died from alcohol. One died
Oh,
under somewhat uncertain circumstances, but most likely due to alcohol. So this was deeply ingrained in both sides of my family. And when shortly after I was born an identical twin in Northern California.
oh,
And
cool.
well, yeah, and actually, as you listen to this story, one unique advantage I have is identical twins can be really helpful in protecting themselves from trauma and things going on in the family. I'm not an expert at that. I just know that from lived experience.
Oh, wow.
Um, so shortly after I was born, let's say like around the age of 5 or 6 or so, both of my parents started drinking a lot, and they weren't really heavy drinkers before this at all. My dad worked in construction, and the way he told me the story is he just started drinking a couple beers a night in the evenings, turned into six a night, turned into 12 a night pretty quickly. And I think another complicated part of his story was that in the construction world, he also started doing some other drugs during the days. And this was something that I only learned later on. So let's just say uppers during the day and downers at night. And that's
Sure.
not a good cycle, obviously, especially with young children in the house. My mom started drinking too, but she drank privately. And the memories that I have are like go into her room sober, come out drunk,
Mm.
lots of fighting in the household and things like that. I had an older brother and sister, half older brother and sister, but they were quite a bit older and they moved out at some point. So there was this period where it was just my twin brother and I in this pretty kind of bad household. But I was very young. And so to kind of fast forward a little bit, around 8 or 9 years old, my dad got sober with the help of AA, which is incredible. He more or less went cold turkey, but it was through that support system that he found sobriety, and he was
Mm.
able to move out of the house and get his deal together. And while I was living with my mom by myself, things got worse. They got really bad, and he
Okay.
eventually got custody of us.
And you
After he
were
got custody,
eight-ish, you said?
yeah, eight, nine-ish or
Okay.
so. He got full custody. He moved us
Okay.
out to the next city over. And that started a period where my life with my dad was amazing. He was such a good dad. And my mom, she we didn't see her for 2 years. She went down a spiral of drinking. And fast forward 2 years after that, when I was 11, we got the call that she died from alcohol, liver failure due to alcohol. And yeah, I had only seen her like once in those 2 years, and it was under kind of bizarre circumstances. She was living with somebody else who like bought alcohol for her. She like got remarried or something. It's this whole
Mm.
blurry portion of my life.
Sure.
So this to me, like it's taken years to kind of like understand what happened, but as I started Sunnyside, I think what I can say is my parents took two very different paths, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Um, but if they had tools that could have helped them earlier on in their drinking experiences, maybe their paths would have been different. Can't say for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people's paths are a little more predetermined, but in this case, like my mom didn't have help. She wasn't going to go to AA, and she had no other tools at her disposal. So that's the story of my early childhood. I stayed away from alcohol until I was a senior in high school. as with a lot of people that grow up in households with alcohol, like it becomes this thing to stay away from. But
Mhm.
then college, I've heard this story over and over again. College is like, well, why not? Like I'm
Let's go.
independent now. Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Uh-huh.
I loved drinking in college. I had no problem with it. It added to my social experiences, 100%. Like that's just the way it was for me with alcohol in college. But when I was a young professional in San Francisco, I started drinking too much. I was started taking advantage of happy hours to
Mm.
drink. Like so, happy hours were like, "Hey, team, you want to get together and socialize?" And so it started out as that, and then I realized I was using the happy hours more to drink than to like socialize. And
Yeah.
I would actually like try to try to create more happy hours throughout the week. So we had a great job. We had this great company we were working for. And it'd be like Wednesday happy hour, yes. Thursday happy hour, yes. Friday, and sometimes like 2 or 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And this was just a toxic habit for me personally. This is where I had a hard time controlling my drinking, and um, the sort of shame over name of your program is like, yeah, I had a lot of like anxiety and shame about this, and I didn't talk to anybody about it.
Mhm.
Um, and so in 2018, I took 3 months off of drinking. I was like, what are you doing? Let's just like take a long break here. And this is because I just wasn't feeling like myself. And I lost like 30 pounds. I'm a small guy. So like
Oh,
you-
wow.
I, I was like really kind of hurting my health there as I let things get away from me. And so that 3 month reset was incredible. I felt so good after that. Some people even asked me like, Ian, like you look healthy and happy. What are you doing? And I don't even think I said anything. Like it was sort of this like secret thing I was doing.
Sure.
I started drinking again after that, much more mindfully. But I'd say fast forward to like 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, I started drinking a little bit more, or a lot more, like a lot of people did that period. We don't need to go into that. Like if you know, you know. Like the beginning of the pandemic
I
was
was there with
stressful.
you. Yes.
Um, but coincidentally, we also started Sunnyside at the beginning of the pandemic. And Sunnyside is my co-founder Nick Allen had this idea for an app that would help people with effectively moderation when it comes
Okay.
to alcohol, not sobriety, because he was at a point in his life where he was seeking that out. He was like, I don't want to quit drinking, but like I should have a system to hold myself a little more accountable. And when he looked to find that app, it didn't exist. So
Totally.
he and I we were actually both taking some time off of work at the exact same time. We were kind of like light friends through networking, and we decided to jump in and start this thing called Sunnyside. And
And
when
this
you
was
started,
during the pandemic.
yeah, right at the beginning.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and Erica, when you started Sunnyside, it was called Cutback Coach,
Yes.
and it was a two-way text messaging coach, and that worked really well. It actually the company grew very quickly at that point in the first year, just with that little simple product. But now in 2025, we've developed it into a full-fledged app experience on Android and iOS. In 2024, this approach that we're using, this combination of daily habit change, coaching from real humans over text message, community, insights and analytics, education and resources. This system that we built to help people get control of their drinking, cut back, or eventually quit, it was part
Mhm.
of a third party study that demonstrated statistically significant 33% reduction in weekly drinks on average across the full population.
Which is
Um,
huge.
which is huge across a full population is crazy. When we dug in further, obviously we have pockets of people cutting back by 75%, by
Mhm.
50%, and more and more. So um, I could pause there. That's like the evolution. That's me and Sunnyside, but there's a lot more to get into if you'd like to.
Yeah.
I'll pause there.
Well, a few different things. One, I thank you for sharing your story because I know it's not necessarily easy to, but
Thank you.
I'm such a big believer in the generational thing, and that's kind of one of
Yeah,
my,
wow.
yeah, one of my goals is with Shame Over and everything I'm doing is if I can make my downline, I believe it is,
Uh-huh.
have a healthier relationship, then it was all worth it, if nothing else. And just really
Yeah,
healing kind of that generational trauma that comes with it. Cause it's, alcohol, it's what it does to us is it's doing its job. And for
Yeah.
some of us, it does its job a little bit more effectively, and that makes us want it that much more. And that's typically because somewhere in, our generations of past, they felt the same way. So I'm really appreciative that you shared that, and especially seeing that you did have your dad go in one direction, your mom go in another, and not only would that be incredibly hard to see based, just what you
Mhm.
experience, especially at such a young age, but to see like I can kind of go one of two ways, because I know probably when you were having lower drinking moments where you're like,
Mhm.
do I need to stop this or whatever? That is, in the back of your mind, like there are two different ways that this can go. And what I love that both of us are really doing is we don't want people to ever get to the point to where your option is never drink again, because
Yeah.
it's when you're there, there is no turning back, because moderation is not for everyone. I definitely admit that.
Yeah. Can I just I'll reflect right back to you that
Yes.
I love that you said that. I have these moments where my twin brother and I would tell ourselves at a young age, like, we're not gonna copy our mom and dad. And as I got older, I translated that narrative into I'm gonna make generational change within my family. And my brother is on that path right now. He decided to not drink after he had a kid. And that's commendable because
Yeah.
like that's literally generational change right there.
Hmm.
But I just want to like tell you this idea that I'm forming in my head over the past many months here. It's a little deep, but bear with me for a second. I think that children that grow up with trauma around alcohol, their bar and their barometer for how much to drink is thrown completely off. And we just like we and I'll tell you exactly how this manifested. One time my brother, he admitted to me this crazy idea I had never thought about. He said, as long as I don't kill myself with alcohol, I'm okay. That's
Mm,
because our mom killed herself with alcohol. And
yeah.
so that bar is way out of whack. And so the only way I think to solve that obviously is education amongst other things, but more specifically, I would say as people get older and start actually drinking after they have had trauma in their childhood around alcohol, they need to know that there are tools and options to support a healthier relationship with alcohol and that you don't need to hit rock bottom to make change. Whatever rock bottom is, we don't need to go into what that is because that's different for everybody. But like this idea that we need to wait till it's a problem to start making change, to ask for help, to get medication, that is alcohol health and the system around us being
Hmm.
broken. It's
Yes.
completely broken. And so ultimately at Sunnyside, our mission is to unbreak the health system around alcohol around the world.
Love that. That is incredible. And I mean, I'm glad you brought up the rock bottom because that is one thing that, I mean, some from things that I have seen in my personal life, it's like, how is that not rock bottom, or how is that not rock bottom for you? Not for
Mm,
myself, but for other people. And it's everyone does have a different rock bottom, and I think your barometer is completely spot on. That it is
yeah,
very different, and for some people, rock bottom can be like a hangover that lasts 3 days. They're like, I just can't do
totally.
this. For others, it's like getting a DUI, or and it
Mm,
to your point, just stop pushing the boundaries, because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
your rock bottom probably won't be the first, second, or third rock bottom moments that you think it would be, because it's just like, oh, but that was just one time.
And rock bottom is associated with quitting. We
Yes,
associate it with I
exactly.
have to stop. So now if we stop saying I'll wait till rock bottom, not that everyone's going around saying this, but we're doing this background processing. Like
Totally. Yeah.
I don't need to
It's not
quit
that bad.
yet because it's not that bad. Take that narrative out of the situation. If you're at all feeling like alcohol's negatively impacting you, whether it's one drink a night or five drinks a night, you have tools at your disposal that don't force sobriety upon you, that take a harm reduction model, that look at your specific relationship to alcohol, your situation in life, the things that are stressing you out, the issues that you need to dig into. Like, let's not beat around the bush. This is not easy stuff, but like, there are
Exactly.
models and systems and ways to get help that don't just tell you that quitting is the only solution.
Yes, exactly. Well, and early on in my drinking journey, as far as like, oh, I'm drinking too much during COVID, I was the daily drinker with the weekend binging,
Sure.
and it wasn't like during the week I was drinking all day, every day by any means, but it had got to the point to where like 10 a.m. would be like, oh, which wine am I going to open tonight? And then, so not only the mental space that was going on,
Oh yeah.
but a big moment like talk about generational stuff that was like kind of one of the big moments for me was my daughter had brought me a wine glass and we were at a friend's house. They run our bubble, so but we were at a friend's house and it was just like at their like bar cart whatever, and she walked over, she was like maybe 18 months, walked over the
Uh,
wine glass to me and handed it to me, just like of course everyone laughed and it was funny, but I'm like, she, as soon as she sees wine glass, she's like, "Oh, mama, that's yours." Like, and that was really what started the
Interesting. That
wheels
was really
turning.
powerful.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a similar story. I don't have kids, but so not quite not quite similar. But I have a moment in time that I reflect on that was a small turning point. I think they can kind of add up. I was at a company party, that same company that I was talking to you about, and actually I
Mhm.
was in another break from drinking. It was like a 2 week break, and this is just I had like challenged myself every couple months to just like step back from drinking entirely. And I was taking a 2 week break from drinking, but we went on a company retreat with the group of people that like we knew how to drink together. And
Huh.
so as soon as dinner came around and people started pouring wine and drinks, my coworker said to me, "Ian, you're not drinking?" I said, "No, I'm taking a week off." And she said, "But Ian, you're always the most fun when you drink. You're always the most fun at the party when you drink." Yeah, so that was a little bit of a reckoning for me. I was like, okay, my identity in social settings with this group of
That.
people is
Mhm.
alcohol, and that's not their fault. That's definitely my fault.
Yeah.
And I can call it social anxiety, but it wasn't. Like I'm actually pretty good without alcohol, but I probably would have called it something like that at the time. It was me wanting to drink, wanting to get
Yeah.
drunk. I like the feeling. So, um, that I just relate to that. Like I took that moment and I didn't beat myself up. I gave myself grace and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
that's a learning experience here. Like I'm not going to be spending the rest of my lives with these people. Like I'll maybe like at
Totally.
some point I'll move on and like I have a chance to sort of make sure that that's not how people see me in the future.
Well, and on that note, I mean, it takes practice, absolutely, but I feel like I'm just as much fun as I used to be. I just
Oh,
don't get sloppy. Like before, I
100%.
would be fun and then I'd get sloppy, or then I'd like run my mouth a little bit too much and like be like,
Yeah.
what did I say? Did it came out how I meant? Like it
Yeah.
was so not worth it. And, it's one thing that I've definitely learned, and this is kind of hard to hear, but like something you really have to be radically honest with yourself about is if you only have fun with these friends, with this group of people, with these
Yeah.
coworkers, whatever, because you're drinking, or they only enjoy you because you're all drinking, it's not really the kind of relationships you probably want in the future.
Yeah. Spot on. And if you are taking a break, if you're listening to this and you're taking a break from drinking, you're cutting back, and you get into a situation where a friend gives you a hard time about that, okay, give them a break once, give them a break twice. But if they keep that up, like I think it's a chance for you to like either have a conversation with them, ask if they can support you, or question their motives and question their habits too. I mean, we don't want to break up friendships here, but
Totally.
I had a friend who during COVID, no, pre-COVID, our relationship, he's my best friend. Our relationship was meet every Thursday or Friday night at a dive bar in San Francisco, have a great time, have these deep conversations. And the next morning, I'm not even kidding, the text message would be, dude, we had so much fun. Don't really remember what we talked about. I'm hungover, but we had a great time, right? And during COVID, something totally magical kind of happened.
Mm.
Because the dive bars weren't available, we stopped going. And what we did instead was we started meeting in Golden Gate Park because we live in San Francisco. We'd like to get out on our bikes after work and just like bum around Golden Gate Park a little bit. And we stopped drinking together. And instead, we started talking. And like so the proof thing here is like, even though I said if some friends don't like it, you should reconsider, there probably are friends in your group that will listen to you and like take that challenge with you. And actually, it'll develop your relationship even further. And this is this is something I think that's hard for guys a lot of times. Like I think
Oh,
we use
absolutely.
alcohol to communicate, and yet after we stopped drinking together, our relationship grew stronger. It was really interesting. And I talked to him about that and we reflect on it. We're like, yeah, this is actually what we want going forward. We don't need to go back to how that
Hmm.
was.
I love that. And especially being guys, because like girls,
No
we're
doubt.
known for talking a little bit more, but guys, sometimes
Yeah,
the perception is, or the belief that alcohol has made you think is you need alcohol to be able to have those conversations. But I mean,
100%.
I recall having such incredible conversations with people that I don't remember. And it's like, okay, but was
I
it that
know.
powerful of a conversation? Then if you can't even remember, like how amazing would it be if you could still remember that conversation that you knew was a great one?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like to go back in time, it would be nice some moments for sure.
Yep. I would completely relate.
So when I first started Cutback Coach, now Sunnyside, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, it was literally basically just me texting back
Mhm.
and forth. And the number one thing it taught me was just that mindfulness and making
Mhm.
it a mindful decision. And I had learned that my drinking was a lot more habitual than I realized. So that was huge for me. That being said, I know you guys have grown and changed so much since Cutback Coach days. So what are you guys doing now?
So I think like generally our philosophy has stayed the same. We want to be inclusive. We want to let people focus on mindfulness and moderation rather than quitting right out the gate. But we've kind of expanded our vision. We want to be the front door for anyone that wants to change their relationship with alcohol. And to do that, we know that we just need to build better tools. What started out as a little text message coach has really blossomed. And like I said, it was validated in a third party study, which was incredible. Like that really is meaningful for me and for our work and for our team.
Absolutely.
But effectively, what happens when you join Sunnyside is you take a little diagnostics quiz to tell us where you're at. And then every Sunday, you set up a plan for yourself that we recommend a plan of drink targets. We don't ever condone drinking, but we listen to your previous patterns and we try to cut you back just a little bit in that first week. And you can either accept the plan or adjust it. And so once you accept the plan, every day we are going to kind of nudge you and remind you what your target was for the day or your limit, if you will. That might be a
Yeah.
better word. And you're going to track your drinks in real time or the next day, and we're going to coach you in usually and not usually, but always in a really positive manner. We're going to coach you and help you if you went over a little bit. We're going to make sure you don't feel shame about that. If you hit your target right on, we want to celebrate that with you. And it's not just this daily habit of tracking, which in and of itself actually can be incredibly powerful in changing
Mhm.
habits. But we have a really cool community of people on the journey with you. We have coaching from real humans, which is pretty unique. It's hard to run a real coaching team, but we've managed to figure it out. Doing it over
Amazing.
text message is really the way to do it for us. And so it's like bite-sized coaching on demand
And
if
I
you
want
need
to
it.
point that out because I totally would have assumed that it was just AI. So that's
It's not.
incredible that it's actually
Yeah.
real people. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard for us to convince people that it's not AI at this day and age, because people just come in expecting that. But yeah, we really want people to understand that there's people that have been through the Sunnyside program that are on the other end, get communicating with you, giving you advice. And then, of course, we have analytics and insights, we have education
Mm,
and resources. And so, what this does is if you stick with this kind of pattern, it creates this sense of awareness around your drinking, accountability to the plan that you're setting, and
yep.
then eventually you'll hopefully start to cut back. What we see is that 33% reduction that we were talking about. But here's the thing. In order to be the front door for anybody that wants to really change their habits with alcohol, we wanted to look at medication for drinking.
Okay.
And it turns out in 1994, a medication called Naltrexone, that's the generic name of it, was FDA approved to help with alcohol cravings.
Hmm.
And the effect of taking naltrexone is that it diminishes cravings, but it also makes it a lot easier to put down that first or second drink. So
It's
it's kind of this
huge.
twofold thing. It quiets the voice so that you don't get that like 3 p.m. urge to think about the wine. And then when you do drink, it helps you stick to your plan. And there's been decades of research done on
Mhm.
naltrexone. And from our research, PBS put out a little 10-minute documentary on YouTube if anybody wants to look that up.
Oh, awesome.
where they kind of highlight why is this so underprescribed. And I'm not going to be the expert here, but here's what I do know. I think most people, if they go into their doctor's office and say, I'd like naltrexone, the doctor is going to say, you don't need naltrexone because you're
Hmm.
not an alcoholic, you're not at
Yep.
rock bottom. I believe doctors are more instructed to prescribe naltrexone in worst case scenarios.
Yep.
Naltrexone is super safe to take anywhere on the AUD spectrum practically. If notice I'm not using the word alcoholic here. AUD is
Thank you. I
inclusive.
hate the word alcoholic. Yes.
Me too. I a whole personal story about that,
Yep.
but AUD is like no one really wants to say I have AUD. That's fine. Let's
Yep.
not say that here, but let's recognize that getting help for alcohol is on a spectrum. No two people
Yep.
are alike. So if
100%.
you're in the middle of the spectrum and you feel like alcohol is impacting your life, if you're pretty heavy on the spectrum and you're drinking 30 or 40 drinks a week, or if you're drinking 15 drinks a week, no matter what, if you feel like alcohol is impacting your life, you may qualify for naltrexone to help you fight cravings. So we decided to bring this to Sunnyside, and actually,
That's amazing.
coincidentally, it's today that we're publicly launching it. So
Oh, no way.
on your podcast, yeah, we actually just rolled it out this morning.
Oh my God, incredible.
Yeah, so it's called Sunnyside Med, and it gives Sunnyside members access to compounded naltrexone, which
Okay.
is a generic naltrexone, 50 milligrams with 5 milligrams of B6. And you simply take another little diagnostic quiz. Your information then gets sent to a doctor. You will only get approved for this if the doctor approves you. So this is
Okay.
fully integrated with a proper healthcare layer. And then medication will be shipped to your door discreetly within usually under 2 weeks. And
Okay.
so Sunnyside Med isn't just medication, as you can imagine. We just talked a bunch about habit change
Mhm.
and behavior change. So Sunnyside Med is pairing effective medication with behavior change so that while you're taking naltrexone and you have this peace of mind and this decrease in craving, you can gain space to do the deeper work. Sunnyside is a huge tool for the deeper work, but like you may also want to consider bringing a friend along. You may want to consider therapy. You may want to consider doing coaching with ShameOver. And then we recommend, and our doctors recommend taking naltrexone for a year at least
Okay.
so that you can make that lasting change. And that way, when you stop naltrexone, it is safe to take for years, by the way. But if you do choose to stop taking it, you'll be prepared to have maybe, not have naltrexone in your system anymore. So that's the gist of Sunnyside Med. Like this is about increasing care for alcohol
Yes.
health, and it's about moving the like the decision from problem drinker, heavy drinker, alcoholic, like we know we need to help those people, but let's move
Yep.
it up the spectrum. Let's move it to moderate drinker, heavy drinker, people that want to make
Yes.
change. Remove the stigma around it and like let people know that it is okay to take medication to help with alcohol cravings. We're doing it with GLP-1s. We're doing it like crazy with GLP-1s. Um, so I'll pause there.
I was going to ask, I have seen a ton of incredible research around GLP-1s as well, and its impact. Obviously, it's known for food cravings and just how much you consume with food, period.
Yeah,
But FDA has not signed off on it for alcohol. That being said, we
correct.
know that it does, for most people, help with alcohol consumption. Is that
Yeah.
something that possibly, if you're even able to say, maybe one day could be on Sunnyside Med or
Oh, I love that question. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. First of all, it hasn't, GLP-1s have not been FDA approved for alcohol cravings.
correct?
Um, but we obviously know that some people are experiencing a decrease in alcohol cravings. It would just make sense, probably because it's doing a lot of the same kind of mechanics biologically.
Mhm.
Um, Also, what we know to be true is that naltrexone is less expensive than GLP-1s, I think, generally speaking. So don't quote
Okay.
me on that, but I think generally speaking, naltrexone is less expensive. Um, will we consider adding other types of medication? Absolutely. Like what I think we want to expand access to care for
Mhm.
people to build healthier drinking habits. I mean, in our future are lots of options, actually. Therapy comes to mind.
Mhm.
I'll pause there. There's other ideas that we have, but like there's ways we could build out the spectrum of care that include possibly other medications, possibly just like more human connection and things like that. So
Totally.
absolutely. And if GLP-1s ever did get prescribed for um, alcohol, health, and cravings, yeah, I think we'd be remiss not to take a look at that.
Totally. So as far as naltrexone is concerned, because I have not taken it personally, but I've known plenty of clients who it has been successful for. That being said, I've had some who were told that they need to take it every single day, some that were
Mhm.
told only take it if they're
Yeah.
drinking. What is your guys' approach there?
So I want to share with you that I've been taking naltrexone for a year now.
Okay.
So before we started Sunnyside Med, I wanted to take it myself because I was doing really good with my alcohol, with my drinking. I don't drink. I wasn't drinking during the weeks at all, but I still noticed that if and when I drink on the weekends, I just have a hard time stopping. And so I kind of wanted to nip that in the bud. And this was independent of Sunnyside Med. Just want to let you know this was like truly something that I did for myself. And it is obviously I can't make doctor recommendations, but
Yeah.
naltrexone has worked for me, and it is a very interesting and effective medication for me. So
Okay.
that's really cool. But then we started looking at it for Sunnyside, and we said, well, Ian, you're using it. Like maybe we can like actually use that to help inform some of the protocols and things like that. So yeah, I was our first Sunnyside Med customer actually. So I'm pretty proud of that. And so yeah,
Awesome.
I take naltrexone through Sunnyside Med, and I take it daily. So we
Okay.
worked with our doctors and our care team through our third party provider to come up with the protocol, and our protocol is daily.
Okay.
It's daily compliance, and there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, I believe that it's the approved FDA. That's the FDA approved protocol on the
Okay.
generic naltrexone. Also, um, it helps with compliance. So
Mhm.
targeted naltrexone, also called the Sinclair method for some people, is when you take it 1 or 2 hours before your first drink, but only when you have a drink, whether it's once a week or once a month. And most people on the Sinclair method, I'm generalizing a little bit, but this is mostly true, are seeking to quit drinking eventually.
Okay.
That method and model I don't think is FDA approved. But of course, like it's also your call if that's what you want to
Yeah.
do. So like our protocol is to take it daily. It makes compliance easier. And it also means that the um, active ingredients in the medication are in your system at all times, so that if you do have
Totally.
fluctuations in cravings, you'll be more likely to sort of be able to fight those. So,
Mhm.
yeah, daily compliance, I believe, is still the most used and most doctor recommended because it's easier. And that's what I've been doing.
Awesome. And it's pill form, correct?
It's a pill tablet, I think they call it. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
solid powder tablet. Yeah.
I said, oh my God, this week I was with my husband and my kids, and one of my, I don't know, I told him to take a tablet or something because his allergies, and they thought that I meant like the tablet. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you to eat the
Oh
tablet.
no.
Like, what are you doing? So, yeah, when you said tablet, it just
Well,
reminded me of that.
that's not necessarily what I thought.
Um, so I am curious, and you may or may not be able to speak on this. And I know you're not a doctor, but just from your own, not only personal experience, but from you guys getting into this and you obviously knowing all the research and everything. So a lot of the women who I work with and Shame Over listeners are women, are
Mhm.
midlife women that are dealing with perimenopause or they're already in menopause. So it hits differently,
Uh-huh.
just life in general because hormones are whacked. That being said, have you noticed that naltrexone is as effective or anything along those lines with them? Perimenopause or menopause with
Uh-huh.
women or anything along those lines, or Sunnyside in general? Is there anything that you guys have dealt with that age group of women who are dealing with something that, you can do some work, but when your hormones are whack, there's only so much that you can do with certain things.
So thanks for prefacing that with like, we can't give medical advice here and we can't make medical
Yes.
recommendations.
Yes, this is
I'm
not
learning.
medical advice.
Um, yeah. So actually, about 70% of Sunnyside members are women. And
Oh,
we know that
wow.
especially during the pandemic, women were disproportionately impacted by increases in drinking. It's a big combination of factors, but what we saw from the research is being a parent, being sort of a caretaker of a household, that often led to increases in drinking being higher in women during that time. I am not sure if the data bears out the same now, a couple years later, but To answer your question more specifically, I actually don't know interactions with the specific things you're asking.
Sure.
I just haven't seen it come up. With that said, when you go through the doctor intake process, you do want to be super honest with that. I mean, this should go without saying. You should list your medications. You should list any concerns. If someone's going through perimenopause or menopause and they feel like there might be complications from that, that's a perfect time to type that into the comment section.
Mhm.
Um, but then the final thing I'll say here is I have been joining weekly Zoom calls with our Sunnyside Med customers so that I can answer questions for them, onboard them, answer kind of give them best practices in the first month or so of being on Sunnyside Med. And I would say just eyeballing it, at least 50%, probably more are women. And we don't actually have the data on this because we're so new to this, but
Yeah.
I do think most of the people on Sunnyside Med right now, I would say, are over 30, if not on the higher side. And intuitively, that makes like we'd love for that spectrum to be as broad as possible just to help as many people. But intuitively, I think it makes sense because I think as our human nature is to go through some cycles of this maybe
Yeah.
before we say, I want to consider medication or I'm at that point. So this is not scientific at all, but like from the panel of people that I've seen,
Sure.
women, older women make up a large portion of not just Sunnyside, but also Sunnyside Med. And I haven't heard once from any customers that specific concern coming up.
That's amazing. And again, I know this is not medical advice, but that's
Yeah.
great to know that, especially that you guys work with so many women, mainly because being a mom myself, like I
Mhm.
understand the mental and emotional load that we carry. And I think, obviously this time in history is different than any others where more moms are also working. So not only do you have the mental, physical, emotional load from home, but then from work as well. So it's just a lot, which is why alcohol is so helpful and effective for most of us.
Yeah,
So
really.
yeah, I'm not surprised by your numbers that you say that too.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
so is there any like specific story that stands out to you? I mean, obviously your experience with Sunnyside Med, you can speak to that, or any other stories, whether it's, Sunnyside Med or Sunnyside in general, that really stand out as far as wow, this was a really cool moment.
Thanks for asking that. What a great question. There are like hundreds of thousands of
I'm
amazing
sure,
moments
yeah.
at Sunnyside. We have this Slack channel where we share customer love, and on a daily basis, people are writing in and saying things like, I haven't had a dry day in 10 years, and I signed up for Sunnyside, and I finally had my first dry day. I feel like I'm on the right track. So we're seeing stuff like that all the time. It really keeps us motivated, and knowing that we're on the right track. But lately, we've been getting people writing in and saying, I've been a Sunny. I think we just got one this morning. I've been a Sunnyside customer for years, and I started on Sunnyside Med, so I started taking Naltrexone.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm finally starting to like make a breakthrough with my drinking. I had made some progress with Sunnyside, but the medication is helping me like really quiet that voice. I no longer have cravings. Obviously,
Mhm.
everyone's experience is going to be different. Um, but actually, there is one story that stands out here because I'm talking to these customers. This one was really interesting, and I could like rephrase this in slightly different ways, and it would apply to multiple customer conversations. So this guy, it was a man in one of our customer Sunnyside Med customer meetings. He said that it was like 5 days after he started on naltrexone, he was hosting his like weekly or semi-weekly football watching party at his house. And he
Okay.
said normally I'd start drinking and by the end of the night I'd be basically like blacked out. We'd have a great
Mhm.
time, but the next morning I'd be hungover and I wouldn't
Yeah.
remember everything. He stopped drinking after like 1.5 beers at the next one.
And
And
this
he
was
said
five
it
days
was
in.
5 days in. And he said it was
Nice.
incredible and he hasn't had that feeling ever. And he said he could start to see like a new version of himself with this medication. Now, I don't want anyone on the call to think this is a magic pill or a silver
For
bullet.
everyone gets the same results by any
For
means, yeah.
not everyone gets the same results. I would say a lot of people experience immediate decreases in cravings, and a large portion of people don't experience immediate decreases in cravings because their biology is different, their drinking patterns are different, and we really encourage people to stick with it. And I've seen people say, "Oh yeah, I stuck with it for 30 days, and I'm now starting to feel that decrease in cravings." So it will change for everybody. We have to be sure to make sure that people know that, so they don't come in thinking that this is the magic pill because it's
Totally.
not.
Yeah.
But what's important about this guy's what he said was he saw an opening for the first time. For the first time in a long time, he felt that he could do this, that he could like take that learning from naltrexone. He could
Chills.
he could see himself as a different person, like a person that can have a drink or two and still be the life of the party. And he's a guy, and he's a guy that drinks beer with football. Like this is
Yeah.
not for any single type of person. This is for anybody that finds themselves having a hard time stopping once they start.
Mm.
So I love that story. I think there's so much about it. Like, you know, I think like as like guys, sometimes we're like a pill to help me drink less. Like we just have these barriers around us, and
Yeah.
um, and I'm just appreciative that he shared his story there, and that we're helping people of all different that look and that are all different types of people.
Well, and I mean, I will be the first to admit that a lot of people, including myself, like with different things, we need chemical help to help with things. Like medication is
Yeah,
there for a reason. Like to me, it's one of the greatest things. Like scientists were created, let them help,
yeah,
and it sounds a lot like naltrexone in a sense, like with the craving curbs, whatever, curb, you know what I'm trying to say, is kind of like GLP-1s in a sense that it
yeah.
kind of does that same thing. Obviously, they're very different, but once you've had that chemical change
Mm,
where it either doesn't sound as good, you don't want to keep going, it changes everything. And I think that
yeah,
that really does give hope because I mean, I've been on a GLP-1 and I have always been an athlete, always worked out, always done all the things, done every diet, everything. And once I got on the GLP-1, I'm like, this is why people can be skinny. Like their brain works
that's
completely
awesome.
different.
Hmm.
And it's, like I didn't realize it until being on the other side, but I'm just like, it is a chemical thing. Like it wasn't willpower. It wasn't, some of us just do need chemical help when it comes to certain things. And so please accept the chemical help if it is something that, you want to try out. Like I'm
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I love that. GLP-1s have helped destigmatize weight loss.
Yeah,
Like it has helped it shift it from a moral failing to something that can be helped with medication.
totally.
Why aren't we doing the same with alcohol? Like
Exactly,
there
especially
is
because alcohol is so like if you have an issue with alcohol, there's a problem with you as a person. It's like, no, it
no,
absolutely not. It has nothing to do with that.
exactly right. And we think there can be a GLP-1 moment for alcohol. We really
Yeah,
do. It's going to take a lot of time, but as it happens, we're going to slowly start peeling back the stigma around alcohol. And
totally.
as we peel back the stigma, like going back to kind of where we started this whole thing, it will be more accepted to say,
Mhm.
I'd like some help earlier on in your journey. That's it. That's what we're trying to do.
Totally.
And if we can recognize that as people, if we can ask for that help, if we could get that help through Sunnyside Med, we will avoid so much hurt from
Mhm.
alcohol by getting a grasp on it early on in its sort of
Yes.
life cycle.
So one other question that I thought of as you were saying that, I work with a lot of people in healthcare. I'm guessing you guys are no different with that. If like when they do this meeting with the doctor, for
Mhm.
example, that does not go to insurance or anything, right? It is because this is not through insurance. I don't know if
Great
you guys
question.
offer plans there. Question on that.
It doesn't go through insurance, and we don't accept insurance at this time.
Yeah.
So there's some business reasons not to accept insurance, but we also think there's some really good reasons for the consumer. So a lot of times talking to a doctor about these things is hard. We know that we're probably not the most honest about our alcohol usage in the doctor's room.
And doctors are
Doc,
used to that, so they uptick the numbers, assuming that you're lying to them. So
no doubt,
nobody's
yeah.
winning in this situation.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the PBS documentary because it's not my area of expertise, but I also believe that in a doctor's setting, you may ask for naltrexone, they may not want to prescribe it, or they may not know to prescribe naltrexone. It's a very
Sure.
interesting thing happening right there. So you may be nervous to talk to your doctor. You may want to keep it discreet, and you may not want it showing up on your primary care record. So if you go through Sunnyside, it will not show up on your primary care record, and it will not show up on your employer record. The only time that we will release information is if the customer asks us to do so.
And I'm so glad to hear that. That is the point I wanted to prove because I have talked to and worked with a lot of women in healthcare because if they were to tell their doctor, like, hey, can I try naltrexone? That would go on their record. And like, I had a gal literally say, I could not get promoted. I could potentially lose my job. And I'm just
That's
like,
terrible.
oh my God, like, here's people in healthcare who are around like stress and trauma all the time and they need help, but we can't help them because it would harm them in their potential career. Like, so
That's the
yeah,
healthcare system not working on our
100%.
side.
Yeah. So I love
I'm
that you guys have that offering for them so they can get the help without it impacting, potential career, anything along those lines.
love that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. Is there anything that I did not cover or ask that you want to make sure that we touch on?
Well, I, I don't think so. This was one of my favorite conversations. You're awesome.
Oh,
I
yay.
really, really enjoyed it. And if anyone is interested in starting a 15-day free trial of Sunnyside, just the base program, head to sunnyside.co. And on the homepage, you'll also see a little call out for Sunnyside Med. If this idea of medication is speaking to you, go check it out, learn more on the landing page, and go through the little intake questionnaire, and we'll see if our doctors can get you approved. Most people do get approved because you're coming in with the intent to get,
Yeah.
and you know that that's what you need. But yeah, start with the 15-day free trial. In the Sunnyside app, you'll see a little pill icon that you can tap if you want to explore the medication after you sign up as well. So um, we'd be lucky and happy to have even one customer join us from this podcast, but that
So,
would be amazing.
well, thank you for all the work you're doing. I'll make sure and put obviously the links in the show notes as well. So make it easy for people. But
Thank you.
I'm so glad I found you guys because obviously it helped me early on, and I have clients who use you guys. I recommend you guys.
That's so
I
cool.
love what you guys are doing, and I love how much you guys have grown and expanded, and just how many lives you're making better in a shame-free way, because that is the whole point of all of this.
I
So
like that.
thank you.
I love that in a shame-free
Yes.
way. That's exactly right. Thank you,
Awesome.
Erica.
Well, thank you again.
Bye bye.